I think they're going to really try to arrest away homelessness.
There's not a nicer way of saying this pastorally. It's a shit show.
What does HB 1365 really look like?
To simplify it, it's illegal to sleep outside.
Where's the education for the people involved?
And now you take that person and you don't let them rest on a regular basis, and you just keep adding all those things on. Now let's say they're a soldier that has PTSD. Chances are now he's going to react poorly. He's going to end up in jail, and now he becomes unemployable. I mean, it's just this domino effect.
Are we just eventually going to put all of these people in prison? And is that the way we want to spend our tax dollars?
Right.
And I just don't. How is that helping our people?
So a new administration is moving into the White House. How do you anticipate that will impact the homeless crisis here in our area?
I don't necessarily know that homelessness is truthfully on the new administration's radar.
The feds will have the least amount of control of what happens here over the next 4 years than what our state representatives and what our local county commissioners will do.
Hi everyone, I'm Tracy Lewis with We Are Winter Garden, and we are joined today by Pastor Scott, who is the founder and CEO of Matthew's Hope, as well as Shelley Bradford, who is the president and executive director of Matthew's Hope. Welcome to episode 62 of Straight Talk, No BS with Matthew's Hope, presented by Imagine Marketing, where we will be talking about what the new year has in store for Matthew's Hope and the guests that you guys serve. So before we get into that, do either of you have any New Year's resolutions?
I'm just not real big on resolutions. Last year, I think what I said is that I was going to try to be more mindful of my time, but not necessarily. I didn't want it to be a resolution because I feel like so many times resolutions are made in emotions, and then you don't
Fades
follow
out.
through. Right,
Sure.
right. By end of January, 1st of February, you kind of stop.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that was a fun run.
Nice.
So, just being more mindful of trying to be timely, and, that always makes my husband happy when I'm on time.
Continue to improve on that.
Yes. And for the most part, I was pretty successful. I mean, I'm still me.
You're still you. Exactly. And I feel for myself, like a New Year's resolution, if I need a change, I should do it now.
Right.
Why wait till the 1st?
Right.
Which is, it works for some people, but for me, it's like, okay, if I need to make a change, let's do something now.
Right.
How about for you?
I've decided since my birthday's in June, I'm going to delay my New Year's resolution.
Okay. Hey, it's your resolution. You do what you want with it.
I kind of feel a lot like Shelley does, and what you just said. I mean, if there's change that needs to be made, I think if there's anything, and I really have tried to do this over the years, but I'm becoming, maybe it's as I'm getting older, I'm becoming more conscious of self. And I realize that I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I realize that I can be very blunt. Someone said a while back, polarizing. I don't know if that's, but I want to make sure that I do try to come across with all things with love. And, I sometimes, whether it's my intent or not, I know I can come across strong. And I think part of it is that when you're on a treadmill and they keep speeding it up on you, which is kind of what I feel
and
like.
throwing things at you at the same time.
I moved about 5 years ago to slow down, be closer to the water and slow down. And
has that happened yet?
No, I haven't even come close. But I will tell you.
Do you sit by the water at least?
No.
Maybe that could be a thing.
I look at it outside the window.
Okay, we'll just
a lot of manatees this time of year and dolphin, but also I think self-care is important, because if I'm not at my best, then how can I expect my team and our guests to be at theirs? Absolutely. And so you can try to hold me to that.
I will say one thing that Darren and I decided at kind of, when you say maybe in the fall of last year, we decided that probably traveling was a little bit more important to us, just to get away, because I'm on all the time. Yeah. There's not a place I go that somebody doesn't know who I am. Yeah. And he luckily, we're blessed that he works in the cruise line industry, and he's like, babe, just at least once a quarter, we just need to get away.
Love it.
So far we've done that.
Good.
And we've got those planned. We've got 2 planned ahead.
Yeah,
so
good. I'm excited.
And it's funny because I took that we started doing more travel for that purpose, because if you wait until things are just right, it'll be too late.
Never.
It's
Yeah.
never too
But
late.
it's funny
never
here,
right.
Shelley, because she's experiencing now, as she becomes more and more the face of Matthew's hope, she's experienced what I did for years, to the point I moved away. And so, but what's funny is, so the other night, well, this is what, a week ago, too? I don't know. We went and saw Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Okay. And we went to a friend of ours, Fred, owns this great restaurant called Real Fish in Winter
So
Park.
good.
And so what's nice about having your friend in the restaurant business that's always busy is I call Fred and I say, hey, or I text him and I said, hey, anyway, we can get in. And he goes, how many of you? And I said, just me and Charlie. He says, I'll make it happen.
Love it.
So we get in and we're sitting down and we're having kind of a date night. And I remember we're sitting at this little table and I'm holding her hand and we're talking. And all of a sudden, Scott Ballou. And she looks at me and she goes, because they were behind, and she goes, oh, dear God. And, we're in Winter Park. And it was someone who recognized me and came over. And then we realized that they were sitting with some donors of ours.
Okay.
So now, I
Now
get
you're in
up and
work
I go
mode.
over and
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
hello and thank them. And it was lovely. It was it was really lovely.
Of course.
But at the same time, I don't think people realize sometimes that when you become in the public eye as much as we have, that I would make a terrible celebrity, because it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah.
And you're grateful that people recognize what you're doing and come and thank you and things like that. But the other side of it, it doesn't allow you to turn it off very often. So yeah.
Well, those are great, guys, and I hope you continue every day to get more self-care and continue to get away, because that's definitely needed. So Thanksgiving through Christmas is considered the season of giving. Charity is on the top of people's minds, but now it's January, so the start of the new year. What is your message to those people that felt so warm and fuzzy about helping their favorite charities during the season of giving?
Don't lose that feeling. Because the truth is, I've shared this with you before, so there's no secret here. I have dealt with depression my entire life, and throughout my life have been on one form of medication or other. There's times where I've been off of it, but the truth is, what has helped me more than anything else over the years has been giving myself away, serving others, loving on others, recognizing that no matter what I've been through, I'm pretty damn blessed, and reminding myself that God has his hand on me all the time, no matter who's coming after me in a bad way at times, which happens way too often for my liking. But at the same time, there's a lot of things people don't see, but and so you kind of go like, you know what? I realize you think you know me, or you think you know what I'm about. But the truth is you don't know me at all. I love, to this day, it's hard trying to keep this thing afloat and raising money and the challenges of doing that. But I still love to this day to have the one-on-one conversations with our guests and talk about hopes and dreams and goals and watch them meet that. That's what drove me 20 years ago. It's what drives me today. And I will say, I believe that I'm mentally more stable, for lack of a better way, because of that. You got to get out of your own head. And you can't help but get out of your own head when you're spending time in other people's heads.
How about for you, Shelley? What would you like to tell people?
Rephrase the question.
What's your message to those who have been serving?
We're still here. I got you. We're still here. We appreciate everything from, Thanksgiving and Christmas and all the giving, and that's great. Just remember that, the other 10 months of the year, we're still here, and we'll still need that support as we go forward and as we move forward.
And what's next for Matthew's Hope in 2025? What's your guys' next step?
Man, we've said it so much, but really figuring out, because now January 1st has happened, what does HB 1365 really look like?
Yeah.
Because nothing really is supposed to be enforced until January 1st. And so now it's what does that look like? Where's the education for the people involved? Because if officers and the public servants just throw out their own version of it,
Mhm.
that's where it creates a confusion for our guests.
And what does that bill mean? What is the law that?
I mean, but what it basically is stating at, to simplify it, it's illegal to sleep outside. And then the bill that just went into effect on January 1st is going to actually pit the general public against the local municipalities if they aren't doing something about it. The problem with that is local municipalities, and we serve, I think, 17 of them, don't have the funding to address it.
Just not equipped. Yeah.
So it's, so not here's not an answer. We've talked about in past issues the level of anxiety and sleeplessness that we're seeing. And, and I'm thinking to myself, and again, we've just started the new year, so we don't know how that second part that started, just recently, how that's going to unfold when all of a sudden Joe Schmo over here doesn't like that a homeless person fell asleep in this chair over here.
Okay.
They call the police. The police come, and because the police really don't want to arrest the guy, that's really their only option. Now that person goes and sues the city for not doing anything. The state representatives have really put the local municipalities in a tight spot.
And I wonder, when they were making these decisions, did they think that through all the way?
Right.
Well, I can tell you that, our trip to Tallahassee, they kept saying how much this money the city's had. Right. And, I personally have, we don't take any money or haven't taken any money from any city. But I sit in enough meetings that I know there's not money there, especially for this. Our hope this year, our big one, and we've been talking about it, and I don't know what it's going to look like and how it unfolds, is to address more mental health issues, mental illness. But when you look at mental illness, legally, I am mentally ill. Now, some people would agree with that long before, but the truth is I fall in the same category with depression as someone with schizophrenia.
Yeah.
We're both mentally ill.
Gotcha.
Okay. There's a different level there. Mine can be easily controlled by dietary changes, by small bits of medication, all kinds of stuff that I can do. Schizophrenia takes things to a whole nother level, bipolar, another level. You mix those two, and then you mix that in with addiction by people that are self-medicated, and that takes it to a whole nother level. And now you take that person and you don't let them rest on a regular basis. Not here, not here, not here, with no answer. Where can I rest? And then they're not getting fed properly, and you just keep adding all those things on.
Big
Now let's say
snowball
they're a soldier that has PTSD. Chances are now he's going to react poorly. He's going to end up in jail, and now he becomes unemployable. It's just this domino effect that no one, the first law went into effect October 1st, and really very little conversation is happening. We go to a lot of commission meetings in county commission meetings and what have you, and it's really not being addressed that often. And what I will tell you is that if you address the mental health issue that we have in Central Florida or throughout the country, you're going to eliminate a boatload of your drug issues and alcohol issues. I promise you this. Because most of those folks are self-medicating because they're not getting the care. They're just looking to escape. They're looking to get away from the pain.
Sure.
Okay. And so we've talked about what does that look like for Matthew. So I don't know. We've talked about, there's very few places to detox anymore. There's not a lot of programs, certainly not that anybody can afford, that allow people to go through a program before they join something like ours. So Shelley asked me the question a while back. She goes, "Why don't we do it ourselves?" She says, "Scott, that's kind of how you've done this whole thing for the last 15 years. You just and that's a big step. I will tell you that we're talking to people, and I'm having a lot of quiet conversations right now because I don't want to give anybody the impression that we're anywhere close to doing that. However, we're looking at what that looks like. I will tell you this much. We are spending more money and more time on mental health than we ever have.
Yes.
With having mental health care professionals on our staff. We recently hired another counselor to our staff.
Okay.
We're adding things that we need, and I will tell you that it makes a tremendous amount of difference, especially with our most difficult clientele.
Gotcha. So how do you guys anticipate the homeless crisis in Central Florida will evolve in 2025? Do you think it's going to increase, decrease, stay where it's at? And why?
That is so hard to predict. You know, it just,
There's nothing that shows us right now that it's going to change except go up. I mean, right now, there's not a nicer way of saying this pastorally. It's a shit show. Yeah. It really is. It's a mess, and everybody just kind of keeps pushing it under the carpet. You know, I mean,
because your numbers increased in 2024, correct?
Oh my gosh, our numbers have increased every year.
Every year.
But last year, I believe in Orange County, it was a 28% increase. I'm sorry, that was Brevard County. In Orange County, it was very close to that. It was a big number. Again, you think about that. If each time I leave the house, I bring home another kid,
right?
It's very much
and
the same
cost
thing.
of living is going up, and paychecks aren't going up. So
yeah,
you're seeing more families on the street.
you're
seeing more seniors on the streat.
This is what I think, and we haven't talked about this much. I think they're going to really try to arrest away homelessness, and all it's going to do is cause a bigger issue for our people who are trying to get help or get ahead.
Yeah.
And I learned something new a couple months ago that I never knew before, and I felt so vanilla when I learned it. You're probably going to laugh at me because maybe everybody knows this, but Shelley, when you go to jail, you get so many points.
Okay.
And when you get up to 52 points, then you go to prison.
Oh.
Did you know that? Huh. Maybe I'm not as vanilla as I thought I was.
Now, I will also
such a
tell you
teacher.
though, but I will also tell you a lot of things that's happening with homelessness are based on points.
Well, right. And that was what
Okay.
I was going to say. So are we just eventually going to put all of these people in prison? And is that the way we want to spend our tax dollars?
Right.
And I just don't, how is that helping our people? It's
because
not.
what was the cost about to have somebody in, was it jail or prison?
48,000
a year.
a year.
Yeah.
And
45 to 55.
Why wouldn't they take that,
Right.
those resources financially and invest it into the people?
Right.
Beyond me. And here's the thing. This is not something new. This is part of what, when I started Matthew's Hope 15 years ago, that I was talking about 15 years ago. Yeah. And all it's done is gone up in cost like everything else has. You know, and that's part of our challenge. Even that, we talk about financial situation. We have what you are dealing with as the general public is something that we're dealing with every day. $5,000 2 years ago was worth a whole lot more than it is today. $5,000 4 years ago. So let's say I have that donor that gives me $5,000 a year. It's worth about half of what it was just a few years ago.
But we're still thankful.
We're thankful, but what you deal with every day in your family is the same thing we're dealing with. And so then you've got apartments that are, when we say affordable housing, it's not just the cost of a house. Okay. We're talking about a large portion of the people throughout Central Florida live in apartments. We need to make affordable apartments. Yes. Not every apartment needs to have a gym and a pool
and all the amenities.
And all the amenities that most people, quite honestly, don't have the time to use because they're trying to afford the damn place, right? Nobody's building those. And so what happens is we're seeing more and more of the everyday family living in their car. We're seeing just a boatload of people seniors becoming homeless. I'm going to share a reality that took place for me back during Thanksgiving. My mom is 80 years old, and her husband David is 93. And we've been trying to talk them to move closer to us. My mom's got COPD. David's 93, and they're both not very big, maybe 110 pounds apiece. And when one falls, I don't know who's helping the other up. Okay. So we've been talking with them about this. And now keep in mind, if you've listened to this podcast or watched it, you've heard me over and over mention how many more homeless seniors we're seeing than ever before. Okay. And so my mom decides to open the conversation, which is the best when they decide to open the conversation. So mom wants to start telling me what their income is. And as we started to go through the conversation, I realized, and I'm sitting there adding everything together, that right now their income is roughly $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they're okay. They're okay. David retired from the Air Force, then he retired from civil service, and then he worked till he was 80.
Mm-hmm.
He worked until some kid told him to pick up a broom and sweep some. He said, I'm done. I'm 80. I'm not gonna, okay. And that's really why he quit.
Sure.
That's really why he quit. Okay. Guy never took a pill till he was 90. Okay. So the bottom line is that we started talking about it. I said, well, Mom, in David's passing, we have to have the hard conversation. And I'd encourage everybody, if their parents are getting older, have this conversation. Start it now. My mom started telling me what she thought. When it was done, my mom's going to have $29,000 income in David's passing. And that's going to happen.
Like
She's
that.
going to go from here to here like that. In that moment he takes his last breath, all that stops. And all of a sudden I sat there, my mouth went dry. I said, oh my God, I talk about this every day. I talk to politicians about this every day. I scream at anybody that will, from the top of my lungs, from the highest mountain. I'm talking about this. I'm helping people every day trying to get off the streets. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, my mom, who has been providing a pretty decent life with her husband, is going to probably, without my help, not probably, she would become homeless. $29,000 is not going to take care of my mom.
Heck no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
and so I want people to be thinking about that, because I think it's something that we need to be talking about. Here's what I've also learned. Those people who are a lot younger than me, I'm 62 now, you're going to get there. If you're lucky, you're going to get there. If you're blessed, you're going to get there. Here's the other side. At 62 years old, after that conversation, Charlene got in the truck and I were driving home. She said, what are you going to do? I said, Charlene, I'm not even thinking about what I'm going to need to do with my mom. I just realized I got to think more about us. I'm 62. Can I drive this hard as I have over the last 20 years and 15 with Matthew? So how long can I drive this hard? What happens if something happens
So
to
you
me?
don't go back on the street.
Well, that's it. And I've often joked that hopefully, if I ever bend back on the street, someone say, hey, isn't that guy that ran that homeless outreach? We should invite him and maybe get him someplace to sleep. That was my retirement plan. I joke about it, but it's not that funny. The truth is, I'm closer to that and most of us are closer to that than we think.
Mm-hmm. So a new administration is moving into the White House. How do you anticipate that will impact the homeless crisis here in our area?
A part of me wonders if people are going to become more charitable because they feel a little bit more comfortable with this administration. I don't necessarily know that homelessness is truthfully on the new administration's radar, but hopefully the people around them and the people who followed them are going to see that, how do I say this? Are going to feel more comfortable donating and being more charitable.
Okay.
Yeah, I will tell you, there's been an uneasiness in the past administration, which obviously from where we stand, I don't believe was necessary. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, but there's things that we saw happening that I'm concerned might go away. Mm-hmm. But I'm also with Shelley is that, look, we're about to either experience the biggest failure in American history or something like we've never seen recovery of who we were at one time, the strong nation we were. And I don't know that I sit on either side of that. I'm just kind of watching me because, when the administration is made up now of coming in administrations, barely no one has any government experience. That's either going to be really great,
right?
Okay,
right.
And it might be. I don't know, or it's like, are you kidding me? So I don't know. I think the bigger question is, and again, I don't think the general public thinks about this as often as they should, but who's coming in at your state level?
Correct.
Okay. And it's important who's coming. I would put it this way: state level, local level, federal level. The feds will have the least amount of control of what happens here over the next 4 years than what our state representatives and what our local county commissioners will do. I will say right now, most of those people in Brevard County especially are what we're, well, they're behind this new law. Let's arrest them. Will that change? I don't know. Will it change when the jails are fine? They're already overflowing, so I don't know where they're going to put these people anyhow. So I think it leads a lot of questions. I think that it's going to give us plenty to talk about over the next year on this podcast
For sure.
as we watch it unfold. And again, we encourage people to send us your questions and your thoughts, because we're not pretending for a minute that we know what's going to happen or what the question. In fact, I think the scary thing for me is not knowing, having a clear feeling of where we're at from where we stand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know.
So we'll stay tuned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. I'm excited for our upcoming episodes and the year to unfold. Thank you all for watching. Please share, and we look forward to seeing you next time.